G'day friends, my name is James, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to be talking about the August set of printables on the Jlb Collage Club subscription. If you don't know what that is, check the link out in the description box below. There should be a link to Collage Club and you can see more about it there. It's basically a monthly subscription to artwork from my personal collection that I make available for you to download, print, and create with. Anyway, let's get into it. Each month I've started doing these kind of flip through of the set just so I can talk more about where some of the images came from or what my thought process was behind some of it, because it can be quite randomized. So I'm going to get into the August set today. We have 5 sheets. I always do this, but I print mine on matte sticker paper, just white sticker paper, and then use my Silhouette Portrait 3 to make kiss cut stickers. I do offer the silhouette files for anyone. I also offer the cut the PNG files of the cut lines that I make, and also just like a regular PNG for that cut file. Whatever. If you have a cutting machine, you would probably know about that already. Just in case you don't have a Silhouette, I don't know how to do the other machines, but if you do have a Silhouette, I offer those Silhouette files in there for any of the ones that I make personally. It's not really a part of the subscription, but I have been doing that monthly. And so we did 4 of these actually have cut lines, and then this one is just a full page print, and then I've got an extra back here that I'll talk about in a second. So that's why they look like this. They're actually a bit bigger if you just print them on just print them regularly. You could still print them on regular sticker paper and fussy cut around them, but I just like to take all the hassle out, do the kiss cuts because I can, and I will tell you something for free. I have used more collage sheets this way than I ever have in my entire life. There must have really been a bit of a barrier for me with the cutting and the pasting. It's not that I don't enjoy it, I actually do have times where I do enjoy doing that, but to make this so hassle-free and just basically make these massive sticker sheets for myself every month, I have been using them a lot more than I typically would have in the past. Just because it's a lot easier, and a lot of it I use in my planner. I usually just decorate my planner with all of it. So, this is the first page. I've done like kind of like mini themes. They're not really themed, but in my head they had a bit of continuity going on. So this page is more like fashion, a bit more fashion illustration, one of my original passions. I'm a passion for fashion Bratz dolls. So here is one of the pieces I did for an Art Snacks box that I was inspired by Cruella to do some fashion illustrations when that movie came out. So I put a nice little rectangular version of that here. And then I have this chick here we did based off of a photo shoot from Basic magazine. If you're on my birthday live stream, this is 2 of these pieces actually, this one here and this one here. These are what I did on my birthday live stream, the ones that went really chaotic and had to move to Instagram. My apologies again for all of that. I actually have seen it, just a side note, I've seen other people complaining about the same thing. I haven't seen any big like articles on it, like news articles or anything, so I'm not quite sure if it's been resolved. I'm a little too nervous to try it again, so I'm just going to hold off for a minute, and if I do live streams I'll probably do them on Instagram for the time being, which means unfortunately they don't save and I can't put them on my YouTube channel. I know I could do IGTV, I just personally don't want to, but yeah, I have a trouble saving them to my phone and putting them on YouTube. I used to be able to do it quite simply, but I don't know why it's changing. Everything changes. Anyway, so here are 2 of those. Again, I shrunk them down. I don't think anyone was looking for a full-sized version of these. That is typically what happens in Collage Club. They do get reduced a lot, but they're scanned in at 300 dpi, which can actually be enlarged a bit. So if you do have the computer kind of Photoshop savvy to go in there and select some of these files, you can enlarge them a little bit if you do want them a little bit bigger. And of course you can shrink them if you want them smaller. So this is that page, all the references I have for that. Some of them are files from kind of like my archive where I pull from every now and again when I want to, I guess, like decorate formatted pages or even just personal things I've scanned throughout time, wherever Steve thinks I'm going to mess something up, so he says scan it. Or I just personally do it because I like it. So this here is it's like a really loose fashion illustration. It was a kind of Vogue cover, like a mock-up that I did based off of a Twiggy portrait, and so you can kind of see the OGU up there in her hair. I just really like it. I think it's really graphic. And then this here is a long time ago we did an Instagram live stream, I believe it was, and we were just drawing more fashion. And this is Stella, our good Judy Stella. If you know Stella, you must have been around for a while. Stella came with me to Japan for our Memory to Memento workshop. She's also been around for years and years and years. She's a makeup artist, one of our really good friends, and she pops in from time to time in the JLB creative space. A lot of the time she's at the photo shoots that we do for Virtual Voyage, and is involved in a lot of that stuff. So this is Stella, and we used her photo that she took on Instagram and we drew it as Frida Kahlo. So this is a bit of a mashup here, but I've always liked it. I've enjoyed how loose it looks, but it's still kind of, it looks a little bit like Stella. I never really go for true what do you call it, likeness when I do these portraits. It's always a bit more of an artistic liberty, and so I really liked that, and I thought that would be beautiful to add there. Must have been Stella on my mind because I saw her recently. This is page 2. This is more of like the cutesy kind of mermaid fantasy that I was going on. There are a few mermaids, there's a bit of a fairy over here, so I mean keep the themes loose, if you will. This mermaid over here originally was super big, and it was a blank that I had drawn, and I just decided to draw over the top of it and made her all of this. I didn't love the colors that I chose. I thought it looked really grayed and washed out, so I did alter it in Photoshop to give it a bit more of a pink cast, which I actually prefer. And she's a nice long thin piece you could put down the side of your page. We have these two here. Again, I gave this mermaid a bit of a pink cast. She was something I just did in ink brush, Pentel ink brush. And I had a photo reference for this too. I believe all of my fashion references this month. No, that's a lie. This is from Basic Magazine as well. It was a model doing this pose, and so I just turned it into a mermaid, which I really liked. And then this is very inspired by the work that we were looking at in Virtual Voyage 3 by Runa Naito. Virtual Voyage 4. Oh goodness, there's been so many of them. Number 4. So this was a bit more Japanese retro themed. I tried to do like big anime-esque eyes, and yeah, I really liked her. She looks really cute down here. If you notice, I don't know if you will, but some of these pieces retain a lot of their texture, and then some of them look a bit more smooth. Like this actually is a bit rougher in real life, but it looks a bit more smoothed on here. Sometimes when I shrink the file, it doesn't look so great if there's just randomized texture, because some of the texture will kind of, like the pixels will shrink together and you'll lose some of it, but then some of it will stay in place, and sometimes I don't like that look. I think it just looks a little too random. So I will filter out kind of the color noise in the photos. It's more like a smoothing filter. So if you've ever noticed that, like the difference, because you can see a lot of the pencil texture and a lot of the crayon texture in these pieces, but then you see something like this and it's a bit more smoothed out. You can still see some of the texture, but it's not the same as what it was originally. That was just a choice I make. Just to make sure that at whatever size they're presented at, they look the best that they can look. And that's just like a little digital behind the scenes there that no one really asked for. Also, colors look different. I know this probably goes without saying, but if you've ever used a scanner, anything that is really fluorescent or a part of certain color spectrums, the scanners don't really pick up that well. And it's just because the computer space, like the color space that the scanner is trying to translate to, doesn't have a match for some of those colors, or the light itself that the scanner bed uses. Like if you're using a fluorescent color, the light that the scanner uses won't bounce the color down back into like the digital information. It doesn't read as fluorescent because you don't really put, like, the computer can't display fluorescent, so it can get very close, and sometimes it does get close enough, but if you try to scan a fluorescent pink, it will look really washed out and pale. There are ways to manipulate that, but pinks, oranges, really bright greens and yellows, things like that start to really shift. So if you notice, not only does it scan differently, when I do the color adjustments, like sometimes I will have a personal preference just to cast a color over the top, like these two became a bit more pink. But then the other ones, if you notice, some of the fluorescent brighter colors, sometimes I will just change it based on whatever looks best for the scanning. There's a trick around it. You can take a photo of it. It usually does better. But I don't really mind altering it on the computer, because at the end of the day, even if you can convincingly produce the fluorescent nature of the picture, a lot of printers will also have trouble printing that color space because printers only have CMYK ink tanks. Most home printers anyway, the cyan, magenta, yellow and black, and because there's no fluorescent ink in there, it will only be as bright as that ink can be, which is not super bright. I mean, it is, like, you can get some really beautiful colors, don't get me wrong. I have a Canon Pixma MX922 printer, and it does a really, really great job. It's beautiful detail, and I love the colors, but I can't print fluorescent. Fingers crossed one day they figured out how to do that. For home printers, I know there are definitely machines that are probably capable of it, but I want a home printer that can print metallic, fluorescent, and glitter. That's just all I want. Is that asking for too much? Anyway, a bit more behind the scenes. That's what these videos are for, right? So, this is also another Art Snacks piece that I did. This I did in November 2020, so this is a bit of an old piece. It was a family tree kind of mixed media. So these two gave birth to this one, these two gave birth to this one, and then these two gave birth to this one, and it was basically showing how supplies on their own are really wonderful for certain effects, and then layering them up on top of each other just give you an opportunity to really play to the strengths of all those different supplies. I actually really loved this as a project. I think I might revive this one day for a workshop or something, because there's a lot of value to this. Anyway, so I put a bunch of those in there, just at different sizes, and I like to manipulate the sizes of things just so that there aren't any big empty spaces. I really try to avoid that because it's, you know, you want full sheets, but it does mean that some of them get reduced down. So hopefully if you liked this one the most, you don't mind that it's that small. Just personal choices I have to make, right? And then this I did a long time ago, but pretty classic for me. I love the fairy, very whimsical looking girls, looking a little unbothered, a little distant, nonchalant. Anyway, that is part 2. Part 2? Page 2. Let's go to page 3. We're getting through it today. I swear the last one I made of these was like 40 minutes long. This one is a bit more of my kind of oddities, I guess. They're not, they're not super realistic. Can you say anything is? I just showed a page of mermaids. Okay, let's lose the themes because I really don't think I did try that hard with theming. Anyway, these were a bit more of the kind of random eclectic mix of things that I came across and that I had just made recently. These two were actually from Creativation 2020. I've always loved these. I did a whole series of, it's on my blog actually, I think there's a graphic of it, a whole series of concept stamping where I use the exact same stamp set, the exact same little motifs to create all these different images. So these were actually made with the exact same stamp sets. They were just finished differently and they produce really different results. I also love this. I wanted to bring that back actually. All these things I want to bring back, but you know I'm just going to get on a tangent and go and do something else anyway. I really love these eyes, this kind of Venn diagram of, I think that was when I got my dot markers, and I would fill the pupils with all different colored dots. Oh, I love that. I love it. I need to do that right now. And then this guy here, just a bunch of really fun shapes in black and white. I like to mix black and white and a lot of colorful just because you never really know. I mean, I don't try to cater to any one specific demographic, but I like there to be at least a bunch of different things that people are familiar with and they do like in their journaling already or to use in their art already, and then a bunch of things that they might not typically use, but maybe feel adventurous enough to try. So yeah, that's how I put it together. But this was another one of my Cutie Pie stamp sets. This was one of the original tests that I did for that stamp. Really loved that. This was in one of my journals, just a collage that I did with a bunch of fashion imagery and some old scrap papers. And I really like this. I think this is probably the first thing I'm going to use today when I get in my journal. These little cheekers, these are inspired by, and you probably won't believe me when I say it, but they were inspired by Luca, the new Disney Pixar film. You can kind of see they've got these little fish faces, and if you look closely, they've got these little gills and these little, what are they called? What are the frilly things called? Fins? Little dorsal fins, I guess? No, dorsal's is that the shark thing? Girl, I don't know. Marine biology was never a thing for me, so let's just leave it at that. Inspired by Luca, nonetheless, I have a beautiful art of Luca book that Steve got me for my birthday, and I love the movie, I love the story, I love the character design, I think it's super cute, so I wanted to do a little nod to my love of that. So they're a bit more classic, like they're using lots of motifs that I would usually use anyway. The flowers, the antlers, the crowns, the bows, the big dresses. They're all wearing the same kind of dress, just with a little bit of different patterning on there. But then I wanted to put their little fish faces on there and their little fins. So these were all done with this is an old pen, Pilot High-Tech C Mica. And it's kind of it's like a really red sepia. Sepia? Either or. And then I used water with a paintbrush to activate that ink. That's how they've got this beautiful ink wash. I knew when I did it in red that it would scan pretty pink, but it was fine because ultimately I wanted to make it a bit more vintage, so I turned them into this very muted kind of sepia, which is what I was thinking when I first drew them. I just didn't really have this color, so this is one of those things where I kind of knew I was going to change it in the end, so I just let myself be open to the process, and I've just shrunk them down to fit, and I think they're a nice little size for my planner. A lot of what I put in here is pretty specifically sized to my A6 planner. It's a Mina Peronin piece with a Hobonichi A6. Oh, sorry, Steve's calling me. Hang on a second, I'll be back. Okay, I don't know where I was. I just got off the phone with Steve. We had a long chat. That was nice. He's coming home in a couple of days. And so I have this planner here for apparently some reason. Maybe I was just telling you the size, I think. Yeah, I have an A6 Hobonichi Techo Avec. That is my planner. And so a lot of the things, that's what I think it was. I think a lot of the things I size specifically for that. Let me just check I'm still in frame. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, so they are my little Luca-inspired little dollies. Oh, the last thing I had to show you on this page was this one. I started on a live stream and I only got to do her face, and I did her body, but then I erased the whole thing, gave her a new body, reworked her face, then colored everything with a bunch of different mixed media. So she's my little cat here. She doesn't have a tail. I thought it would get too in the way if I had a tail. Just usually like lots of long, or like, how do I say, ribbon-like shapes? Does that make sense? Anything really long and like that doesn't stay within itself in the image, like even this started getting a little hectic, doesn't fit well on collage sheets very well. Like it's a really big game of Tetris when you're putting it all together. So I opted out of putting the tail on. You could pretend it's kind of hiding down there, or you could just put your own tail on. Or do brush lettering as a tail. Maybe that would be fun for your journaling. So I really like her. If you don't know, love cats. I was going for more of an Oliver look. My cat Oliver is a Flame Point Siamese. He's white and peach, but I ended up just going full orange, so I really liked her. That is page 3. Page 4 is a bunch of eyes. I wanted to do some really big, bold, colorful eyes. Eyes that weren't like realistic, but just kind of painterly and maybe just like a bit more abstract, a bit more geometric. So there's a bunch here. I actually did them in gouache and ink. I used a white gel pen as well, and I really liked how they turned out. I pumped some of the colors up a little bit, and one of them I was one short, so I actually just copied this eye and turned it backwards and made it a different color. It's a really fun trick for your collage sheets if you ever make them. Everything is so, I want to say reinterpretable, but it's not the word. Everything can be reworked and create different results. So I was going to go and do another eye, but I did this first and actually really liked the way all these colors translated. So I thought, well, that's a bonus. But these were originally supposed to have noses and lips. I didn't really like how the noses and the lips were turning out. I wasn't really keen on pulling out a whole bunch of reference inspiration. And I thought I would prefer to have a whole bunch of eyes rather than only a few eyes, a few noses, and a few lips, because I feel like the eyes are a bit more of a usable motif. The one thing I'll mention with this though is if you do end up on the silhouette, or even if you just print them out regularly, I actually printed a set of 2 and I flipped the whole image and all the cut files. So I technically have a set of the eyes. The only thing is when you have them with catch lights, they don't mirror really well because the catch lights are supposed to be in the same place on these eyes. Like if I use these 2 together, these catch lights should be the same in both pupils, the little white dot kind of things. But I think it's fine. A lot of them, yeah, there's not much you can do. But you could always try and rework them a little bit, or just go with the flow. I don't think most people will catch on. It's just a little thing that I always think about, but this would be pretty hard to change. Ultimately, I actually thought it might be more fun if you mixed eyes together. Like, say if you use this eye on one side and this eye on another side, that would definitely get rid of the mirrored catch light situation. It's such a specific problem, but I do think about it sometimes. You could also flip some of them upside down if you just want to try that. I think these are really fun. And my full page was all gouache and paint pen. Gouache, paint pen, and a gel pen. And I really, really loved this. It was kind of meditative. I just did all these geometric shapes and layered them on top of each other. There's like many, many layers here. And you can see where some of the layers overlap, and then I've recolored them different layers so that it almost looks like there's some transparency to some of the layers. This was really fun to do. So I got that on the computer and altered the colors to make them a little bit more harmonious. This was really nice and bright and bold, but I felt like there was a bit of there was like a really large gamut of colors on here. I wanted to pull that range down a little bit. So I pulled the yellows more towards an orange, and I pulled all the reds in closer together. So this kind of became a bit more orangey pinky than the original, which I really like. And the greens were a little bit more muted. So that's also another thing you can play with in Collage Club. I always just say that if you are going to alter something, if someone asks, because I don't make any rules about like posting with credit or anything, but if someone does ask, like, hey, where'd you get that from? If you've altered it in some way, if you wouldn't mind just saying how you'd altered it, it doesn't really matter because I put the previews in Collage Club as well, so people can know what they're getting in their subscription. But if you do happen to remember, and if you don't mind, just tell them that you altered the colors or something, or you shifted it this way, or you resized it, just because some people may think it's available in that specific iteration, which it wouldn't be. Again, shouldn't really matter because the previews are on my Collage Club, but just in case, I do like to say that from time to time. So this was really fun. I do love this, and these full pages are basically great for, you can either cover your journals with them, you can make full page tip-ins, you can make full page backgrounds. I like to cut them up for a lot of collage, like if I'm collaging together a little character and I want to make a really brightly colored dress, I might trace the dress on here and color that, cut that out. Also, I thought originally I might want to print one of these out in a kind of pastelized version, like maybe at 30% or something, 50%, and then draw lines over the top just to make kind of like really crazy colorful post-it notes, maybe even chop them up into squares, just so that I can peel those off, stick them in my book, and write on top of them. So I would just have to make the background a lot lighter. Again, all of those things, if you're proficient on Photoshop, shouldn't be that difficult to do, but if not, hopefully you find enough use with the sheets as they are. I think there's still a ton you can do with them, even if you're not going to personalize any of them on the internet on Photoshop. So those are technically the same sheet. I've just flipped them. Then we've got, oh, where's my other one? Oh, here it is. This one here, this one here, and our top page, all these fashion ladies. So this is the August set of printables for Jlb Collage Club. I hope you enjoy these if you are a member. If you're not a member, you can follow the description box in the link below if you would like to see more about it. Absolutely no pressure to join. I know some people just join as a way to support the channel, since I don't do any other kind of subscription-based anything, and it is one of my most affordable kind of product offerings that I do, as opposed to, I guess it's maybe washi tape is cheaper. When you factor in shipping, it's probably not. So this is one of my most affordable product offerings within the Jlb creative space. And I did want to say on that, sorry about this black nail here. I had an ink spill earlier with permanent ink and it's really hard to get out of my sidewalls. Anyway, If you wanted to join, Teachable has suddenly introduced, like out of nowhere, PayPal options for recurring billing, which means the subscription-based model that this Collage Club is on, so $5 per month. This means we could never offer PayPal before because Teachable didn't offer it. Now we can. So I have it enabled in my school. If you want to pay with PayPal, you can finally do that. There is an option to do that with the subscription. So that wasn't available at the start of the year. Look at all the progress we're making. Thank you, 2021. So yeah, if you want to join and you've been waiting for that PayPal option, I'm really happy to say that it's here, and I look forward to getting you in there. If you're curious to know about any of the other sets, I do have other videos about the different sets that are available and my thoughts and processes like this video. Also, I have when you go to the landing page for the Collage Club, there is a month at a glance. Please make sure, because we do these on a 4-month rotation. So if you join today, there's 4 months. It's August, July, June, April, May, June, July, August, yeah. The previous 4 months. So if you join today, there's those 4 months in there, but if you're interested in getting January, February, March, or April, those all move to Etsy for individual purpose. I just do that so that I can keep the value of the content consistent throughout the year. It's basically the same thing as Patreon. You know how in Patreon, if you don't take the content away, someone could join in December for $5 and get all 12 months worth of content, whereas someone who joined in January will have paid $60 up until December to get the same amount of content. A lot of people on Patreon don't mind that. I personally didn't mind telling people that when I did my Patreon experience. I think that's something that people expect, but I didn't want that for Collage Club just because I didn't think it would be. There was no real good way to price that if it was 12 months of content versus 1 month of content. So I decided to do a 4-month rotation. So if you join at any point from now, because our rotation started, you'll have access to the month that you join and the 3 previous months. So that's 4 months total for $5. If you miss any of the sets though, or if you don't manage to download them for whatever reason, everything is available on Etsy after that for individual purchase. But it is more budget friendly and more economical, makes more sense to join the subscription. And I always say, if you just want to join for 1 month and then cancel, that's completely fine with me too. I don't gatekeep how you decide to spend your money. Save a buck if you want, and yeah, you can access them anytime. So that's all from me. I think I'll leave it at that. This is August. I'll see you again next month for September. I already have some of September started, so we are like on a roll. I have many, many things I still want to share with you. I have such an extensive collection of journals that have so much in there that it's always such a joy to get it, back into circulation and to see it pop up. Don't forget to use the hashtag Jlb Collage Club on Instagram or social media if you want to share your work with us and so we can see it. I'll see you again another time soon. Have a great day. Bye.